Welcome to this restorative yoga class. My name is Atseta Skarseth. I'm a trauma therapist, yoga teacher, and retreat facilitator, and I'm honored to guide you through this practice today. We'll be focusing on rest as a skill in today's class, and it's a vital one, especially for those of us who are pushing ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, or all of the above. Rest isn't something our culture often teaches us to value, but it is essential. Our bodies and nervous systems don't just crave rest, they really need it. And mindful rest is particularly important for those of us that are building strength, recovering from injuries, or simply navigating busy lives. Before we begin, let's take a moment to prepare your space for this practice. Creating a calm environment can help signal to your mind and body that it's time to relax. You might dim the lights, light a candle, or diffuse a calming essential oil like lavender or chamomile. Grab a cozy blanket, and if you have them, set up some sort of supportive props like bolsters or yoga blocks. So I've got a bolster here, and I'm sitting up on a yoga block right now, and then I have this second one. If you don't have access to yoga-specific props, no problem. You can also use pillows, rolled up towels, or even thick books wrapped up in fabric as substitutes. Now this class will be slower paced, focusing on stillness and surrender rather than movement and effort. However, every posture I guide you into is simply an invitation. Take what works for you and leave what doesn't. Give yourself permission to make this practice your own. I personally didn't always find rest easy, and on some days I still don't. I used to believe that rest meant I wasn't being productive or strong enough, but over time, as I've practiced the skill, I've learned that rest is really a part of growth. It's not an indulgence, it's a necessity. So if you find yourself resisting rest, know that you're not alone, and this class is hopefully a place for you to explore what rest can feel like for you specifically. So let's begin.
I invite you to join me in supported child's pose, or balasana. I'll be showing you a few variations using the props. We'll start off on your knees, bringing your big toes to touch and knees wide on the mat. And you can rest your body over the pillow or bolster and bring your knees to the outside edges of your mat if that feels comfortable to you. Another option, if you have blocks or books that you're using, is to place one block on the highest height in front of the second block on the medium height and place the bolster over top. Scooch up nice and close, and then wrap your arms around the blocks and lay yourself over the bolster. You can make any adjustments with your arms that feel right. Perhaps holding the prop like I prompted before, or resting your arms by your sides. You can lay your cheek on the prop and rest here for as long as you need. You are always in control of your practice. The choices you make with your body are always celebrated here. I invite you to send yourself gratitude just for arriving to your mat today. So often that is the hardest part. Throughout our practice, you are welcome to keep your eyes open, find a soft gaze, or close them if that feels comfortable for you. Again, your choices are celebrated here. If being with the internal sensations feels too overwhelming, know that you can explore focusing on something external in the room, outside of your body. Perhaps a color or sound. Choose what feels soothing and resourcing and supports you in reorienting to the space. I invite you to explore your breath at your pace. There is no rush. You are enough just as you are. Throughout this practice, I'm going to share different affirmations surrounding rest and taking care of yourself. Take what works and leave what doesn't. Some of these might resonate very deeply, and others may be hard to believe. Remember, this is your practice. Whatever feels the most supportive to you is the right choice. I invite you to take an inhale in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth, and hear these words. I remind myself often that rest is a radical practice. I don't have to earn my rest. I remind myself often that rest is a radical practice. I don't have to earn my rest. Now I invite you to switch the position of your head. If you're laying on your left side, gently switch over to the other side to even out, and vice versa, depending on how you started off. You might even find that staying in this position for this amount of time feels a little difficult, and if that's the case, you can absolutely move into another position that feels supportive to you. Rest is a deeply personal practice, and it doesn't have to look the way that I'm presenting it to you. I'm just so proud of you for showing up and giving yourself this space. We'll stay here for a few more rounds of breath. You might notice that your breath is deepening here, or maybe it's staying exactly the same. If it is deepening, you might continue to inhale in through your nose and out through your mouth, allowing each exhale to be an invitation to release something from the day, anything. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Breathing at the pace that feels best to you. Just paying attention to any sensations that might be showing up, knowing that it's just information for you. There are no value judgments to be had. Nothing is good or bad. It's just information. What is your body trying to share with you? And very gently, at your own pace, place your hands on either side and push yourself up. Move the bolster and the blocks, and we'll get set up for the next posture. Next, we'll move into supported butterfly. I have an extra set of blocks that I'll be using, but it's not necessary. So, similar to the previous posture, Balasana, you'll take one block on its highest height and a second block behind it on the medium height, and place your bolster over top. Basically setting up another ramp for yourself, but this time you're going to lay your back on the bolster. And I have two blocks, and I'll show you a few different variations for your legs. So one variation is to bring your feet to touch and widen your knees and place them on whatever height block feels the most supportive for you, especially if you find that you have tight hips. Another option is to have your feet flat on the floor and knees bent, or to lay your legs out long. What feels most supportive for me today is my feet together, knees wide, over the blocks. And to make this extra special, I'm grabbing a blanket and laying it over my hips, and I invite you to do the same if it feels supportive to you. I invite you to take a moment to settle in to this pose and lay yourself back. And again, you can keep your eyes open, or you can have a soft gaze, or have them closed, whatever feels most supportive to you. You also have a few options with your arm placement. If it feels right for you, you could explore resting one hand on your belly and one hand on your heart. How does it feel to notice the rise and fall of your breath? Take your time. I invite you to come into your breath on your terms. You can make a change or opt out at any time. It can't be stated enough. This is your practice and always your choice. Another option is to lay your arms out to your sides. This is a pretty big heart opener, and so sometimes that can feel really vulnerable. So there's always this invitation to check in with yourself and see if it feels important for you to engage with your heart in this way, or if you're feeling more protective, that's also okay. Your comfort and safety are the most important elements of your practice. Can you acknowledge the strength it took just to arrive to your practice today? I invite you to gently settle in and take note of the support beneath you. Maybe take a scan of your body and take inventory of your needs. Perhaps start to bring some awareness to your mood, to your energy levels, to any emotions that are coming to the surface. Everything you are holding is welcome and valid here. If you notice that your mind starts to wander, know that you can always anchor back to your breath or anything else in the room that feels soothing to you. Coming back to your breath, inhale in through your nose and out through your mouth, and hear these words. I deserve to live with ease. I deserve to live with ease. I deserve to protect my energy. I deserve to protect my energy. We'll spend a few more moments here, just paying attention to how it feels to be supported, to have created this space for yourself, to be taken care of, what it means to engage in mindful rest. and to practice the skill of radical resistance through unsubscribing to the productivity that's always being asked of us. I'm so, so proud of you. As we begin to transition out of this posture, if you have the blanket on, you can move it off to the side. Begin to bring some movement back into your body. Maybe you want to gently guide your knees back together and prop yourself up. Begin to move the different props out of the way if you're using them. And we'll get ready for our next move. Next, we'll move into supported pigeon. If you'd like to join me, you don't need to use any props for pigeon, but I'll be showing you another ramp setup. If you can tell, I really enjoy support in this way. So we'll take one block on the high height, one block on the medium height, place the bolster over top, and then I'll be using a third block here to support my hips. To set up for this, you can come onto your hands and knees and gently glide your right knee forward toward your right wrist, letting your shin rest at an angle that feels natural. And imagine your body moving like water, fluid, effortless, allowing gravity to guide you rather than forcing any shape. You can extend your left leg back, feeling the length through your hip and thigh. And if your right hip is lifted like mine, you can place a bolster, a pillow, a folded blanket, or a block like I have underneath for support. Picture the earth rising up to meet you, holding you with gentle steadiness. You can lower your upper body forward, maybe resting on your forearms, or letting your forehead melt toward the mat if you're not using any props. Or you can let your arms drape like heavy vines, surrendering to the pull of the earth. This is a deep hip opening posture, and the hips are often like reservoirs holding on to tension, stress, and sometimes emotions we weren't ready to process before. If you feel sensations or emotions rising, think of them like waves. They come, they peak, and they gently roll away. There's nothing you need to do except breathe through them. There's also the invitation to come out of this posture if any sensations are feeling like too much. Life is hard enough as it is. Our practice doesn't need to be difficult as well. With each inhale, you might imagine golden light flowing into your hips, bringing warmth and space. And maybe with each exhale, you're releasing what no longer serves you. Maybe picturing it dissolving into the ground beneath you, carried away like leaves on a soft breeze. You can let your breath be the guide, a bridge between tension and ease. There is nothing to do, nothing to change. Just be here, exactly as you are. Some emotions that might be coming up that are completely normal are restlessness, sadness, irritation, or frustration. And if those things are coming up, I invite you to simply observe without judgment. What is your body trying to tell you? On your next inhale, we'll come out of this posture and do a few rounds of cat-cow in order to reset. So move any props you're using out of the way. Come to your hands and knees, shoulders directly over your hands, hips directly over your knees. Inhale, belly dips, look up to the sky. Exhale, curving your back like a cat. Inhale, look up. Exhale, round everything out. Move at your own pace here. I'm only doing 3 rounds, but you might find this feels really supportive, so stay here as long as you'd like to. When you're ready, we'll set up to even out our sides. And so you'll come back to your hands and knees. Make sure you have your prop handy if you need it. Hands and knees. This time you'll bring your left foot forward, letting your shin rest wherever it feels comfortable. Your right leg will lay all the way long behind you. You can lay yourself over the bolster, or if you're not using props, maybe you're laying flat on the ground. Maybe you even have blocks beneath your head. Again, whatever feels most supportive to you. I really encourage you to find what is going to feel most comfortable in these positions. Also knowing that sometimes it's not about comfort, but in this class in particular, that is the goal. Find the comfortable spots and make it a mission to move until you do find that comfort. It's such a gift to yourself. And as you settle into this new side, I invite you to do a check-in and see if anything feels different, or maybe things feel the same. Perhaps this hip has different sensations than your other hip. Again, we're just gathering information. We're not judging anything as good or bad. Just want to know what our body is trying to tell us. You might even notice that there are different emotions that come up on this side. Perhaps you didn't feel much of anything on the other side, and now all of a sudden there are many sensations. The invitation is the same. If you'd like to, you can just be with the sensations as they come up. Anchor into your breath and let that be your guide. Or you can decide that this isn't the posture that you'd like to be in. You can find a different posture that feels supportive to you. There are no wrong choices when it comes to taking care of yourself and your practice. Here's another affirmation. There is beauty in my emotions. There is beauty in my emotions. And another. I am creating space for rest. I am creating space for joy. We'll spend a few more rounds of breath here before we reset with our cat-cow and move into our final posture. Inhaling in through the nose, exhaling out through your mouth at the cadence that feels most natural to you. In through the nose, out through your mouth. Each exhale an invitation to let go of something. On your next inhale, begin to bring some movement back into your fingers. Bring your hands to either side of you. Prop yourself up nice and slowly. Move the block out of the way if you're using a block or any prop. You can come back to your hands and knees and do another few rounds of cat-cow. Inhaling, dipping the belly, looking up towards the sky, and exhaling, rounding everything out like a cat. Inhale, dip the belly, chin up. Exhale, push the ground away, everything rounds. A few more rounds here for as long as you'd like. And when you're ready, you can move the props out of the way and we'll set up for our final posture. For our final pose, we'll be setting up for supported Shavasana. However, I invite you to find a final Shavasana that supports your body. Know that you could explore one shape and shift at any time to increase your comfort. You might explore any of the following options or choose a shape that resonates with you. If you're with me, I'm using 2 blocks and a bolster to set up. 2 blocks on the highest height with a bolster over the middle, and the blocks are about as wide as the mat. And I did a little stress test to make sure that this structure isn't going anywhere. And then scoot yourself up as close as you can. Gently place your legs over the structure. Scoot yourself forward a little bit more if it feels comfortable to. And then you can lay yourself back gently. You might want to grab a block or a pillow for underneath your head for some additional support. And then this is another great place to grab a blanket and drape it over yourself for this final resting position. You might bring your mat over to the edge of your couch or a chair if you aren't using any props but you'd like to get a similar sensation. And you could explore resting your palms by your sides or on your heart and belly. Stay here for as long as you'd like. Honor all of the incredible ways you show up for yourself every single day. As you settle in here, I'd like to share with you something that deeply resonated with me. Most of my life has been spent trying to shrink myself, trying to become smaller, quieter, less sensitive, less opinionated, less needy, less me. Because I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to be too much or push people away. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be cared for and valued. I wanted to be wanted. So for years, I sacrificed myself for the sake of making other people happy. and for years I suffered. But I'm tired of suffering, and I'm done shrinking. It's not my job to change who I am in order to become someone else's idea of a worthwhile human being. I am worthwhile, not because other people think I am, but because I exist, and therefore, I matter. My thoughts matter, my feelings matter, my voice matters. And with or without anyone's permission or approval, I will continue to be who I am and speak my truth, even if it makes people angry, even if it makes them uncomfortable, even if they choose to leave. I refuse to shrink. I choose to take up space. I choose to honor my feelings. I choose to give myself permission to get my needs met. I choose to make self-care a priority. I choose me. Danielle Kopke, originally published in Daring to Take Up Space from 2020. Again, I invite you to stay here for as long as you'd like to. But if you're with me, I'll invite you to bring some movement into your fingers and toes, gently wake the body up, maybe take a nice big juicy stretch, and begin to move any of the props out of the way that you were using. And take your time moving out of this position. Luxuriate in all the space that you took up. Gently roll to one side. Maybe you take a moment to lay in the fetal position before gently propping yourself up and coming to sit. I encourage you to move as slowly as you can throughout the rest of your day. Remember that there's no rush. You can move with the pace of nature. seal your practice in whichever way feels best to you. You might lean into taking a moment to express some more gratitude to yourself for creating this space. You can bring your hands to Anjali Mudra, prayer, up to your third eye, and bow in a deep sense of gratitude to this ancient practice as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.